it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you another mixed media collage on a 5x7 canvas panel. And today I'm being inspired by the Art Joy of Sharing Art Community March Mood Board. What is a mood board? It is a collection of photos, and we post one every month in Art Joy of Sharing Art Community over on Facebook. You can come and join that community on Facebook, and all you need to do is just use the link below, click, and then when the questions come up, answer them. The questions are screening questions to make sure that we don't get any crazy spam selling people in there. We want people who are actually there to share art. And that's what we do over there. And we have a few challenges, and this is one of them. So, how do you use a mood board? Well, I made the mood board this month, and I thought about how I feel about March. What are the types of images that come up when I'm thinking of the month of March? I'm thinking about green because there's St. Patrick's Day and other saints' days in Europe. Um, Also, green of spring. Things are starting to warm up, green up, bloom, and then I always think about uh, Celtic lore during the month of March. So I picked some spring tulips, a cherry blossom branch, a picture of a person holding a shamrock, or well, that would be a four-leaf clover, and some old stones from ancient days, and then the nice, beautiful green northern lights that have been happening in the northern areas. They're green, they're green and pretty. So these are the pictures, and how are you to use it? Well, I'm very driven by color, and so I tend to look at the colors of the pictures, which were kind of a blush pink, peachy color, lots of shades of green, maybe a little bit of darker colors in the sky. And so I started out this mixed media collage with some papers. The first paper I glued down is one that was under paper at some point. I save anything that has pattern and paint on it. And I like to have that stuff to collage with. So I glued that piece down, and then I had this piece of packaging. Have no idea what it came from. Absolutely no idea. But it had pretty colors, and it had some pinks and some peachy colors. So I tore up a few pieces of that and put that down. And then I also had some paper that had some greens on it, interesting dark greens and green golds. And one of them even had a burlap texture on it. And I thought that that seemed naturey and, kind of reminded me of grass. And so I added that too. And then once I was happy with that first layer of collage, I added some paints to coordinate all of it, to bring it together, to smooth it out and make it look like it's one thing. The colors I used are this weird color that I got that's called Naples Red Yellow Light. And it's kind of peach or blush color. I started out with that one, blending with my finger, and then I put on some of Naples yellow. Okay, I've got Naples yellow, then I've got Naples red yellow. Those should go together, right? So I put on some of the Naples yellow, which to me is a very interesting neutral. It is yellow, but to me it's a neutral because it's not so yellow that it screams in your face, I'm yellow. So I added that too. Then I decided that I wanted to add some texture. That piece of paper that I glued down at the beginning that was at some point under paper on my desk, it had bumps on it because it had blobs of different paints and different things that made it very bumpy. So I thought rather than just have this random texture in one section and not have anything else, that I should add more texture. So I decided to use a stencil and some light molding paste or light modeling paste. I'm not sure how you say that word. It seems to differ depending on the brands. This one's from Golden, and um, it dries quickly. It's kind of spongy. I would say it's spongy. So I used a Stencil Girl stencil, and the shape that the shapes that this stencil has are very similar to petals. And of course, we've got the tulip petals, we've got the cherry tree blossom petals, and we've got a shamrock or clover, which has a petal to it as well. And so I thought that that shape was perfect for what I needed. And this is a very interesting stencil. I think you could make butterflies or flowers out of it. It's got like all these little petal shapes. So I put those down with the texturing medium, and then I dried that a little bit. Then now I want to work on that texture so that it shows. Like it's not flat, it's textured, and I want it to be able to show that visually as well as by touch. So I started adding some glazes, and the two glazes that I used are from Seth Apter's store. They're from Izink, made by Altadine, which is a French company, and he has some colors that are his designs or whatever. So it was a beige, and then it was what I thought was black, which actually is not black at all. It's a brown color. As you see me spreading out the extra on that piece of paper, it's brown. It's like a dark brown. So I wanted that glaze to go down in the cracks of that stencil design. I wanted you to be able to see it. So I brushed those on, and then got it dry again. And then now I wanted to add back in some of the pink because I've changed the color, and I still have that circle up at the top that's got those peachy pinky colors, which is, from the mood board. I need to have those peachy pinky colors. So I got some acrylic inks. The first one was Venetian Rose, and then this one is some type of red. And I dripped them on, they're ink, so I dripped them on there, then kind of sprayed them around with with my squirt bottle and some water. And then also patting some of it back with my baby wipe so that it's more, I don't know, patchy, I guess. And I want to get that color back on there, but I still want those darker tones to show through. Then I thought I needed to add back in some green, so I grabbed some green acrylic paint. I don't know what the name of that one is. If you were ever with Stampin' Up! A long time ago, it would be called Garden Green because that's really what color it is, but it's got a different name in acrylics. And then I also used some green gold in a minute, which has a lot more yellow in it. But I just wanted to get some of that green back in there. I'm just trying to build up a lot of layers of color and texture that really show in the end. I want that texture that I put on there to show. I want it to have all the colors of the mood board. So just messing around with that, still finger painting. I haven't used brushes much. I did use a brush to apply the glaze. So then I got back out that Naples red, yellow, light and the Naples yellow, and put those on the tops of the texture to bring those petals back forward, blending in with that pink because the pink was really overtaking everything. This was fun. This was done on the Art Joy of Sharing live stream show. We live stream every Thursday. It's a different channel. It's the live streaming channel that we have for the Art Joy of Sharing art community. And Peg Robinson and I, we live stream every Thursday. And so that's what this is from. But this is my sped up version that I took separately. I take separate footage during the live stream to make a speed up version, because I know a lot of you like to watch it fast. This is sped up 4 times fast. So an hour and a half condensed and edited down to, what is it, 18 minutes or something. That's how I like to watch my video. So that's why I make those here on my channel. But if you want to watch it in real time, you can absolutely go over to the Art Joy Sharing live stream recorded version, which I will put a link below the video, and you can watch it there. So I wanted to add back in some of that cursive V looking scripty writing that was on that packaging. And so I had a piece of tissue paper, printed tissue paper, and I just tore little pieces of that. It has scripty looking writing on it. and collage those down. And now it's time to do detail work. This is a Stabilo All pencil. And somebody in the live stream was asking me, and this is a really good question, and that's the reason I'm going to repeat it. Why do I use Stabilo All pencil instead of Inktense pencil? Because Inktense pencil is permanent and Stabilo All is not, and I'm a mixed media artist. To me, those two different products have very differing properties. The Stabilo pencil it really reacts to water. In fact, you can completely remove it with water if you don't like what happened. But you can really bring it out and pull it out and fade it out very quickly and easily with water, which is what I'm doing here. The Inktense, to me, when I write something with the Inktense and then I try to pull it out with water, I still have a mark that remains. It's ink, right? It's a ink in a pencil, and I can never completely fade out the Inktense. So that's the reason that I generally use the Stabilo instead of the Inktense. However, I do love the Inktense. It comes in a lot more colors than Stabilo, and it is permanent. So if it's not your detail work that you're doing, like I am at the end here, I'm not going to put another layer over this, probably. I mean, I am, but nothing that's going to really like move it or get it really wet. If you are planning on putting wet layers over the top of what you're doing, you should use the Inktense because it's permanent once it's dry. It's water activated, and then it dries permanent. The Stabilo All pencil does not. So this, at the end of all this, after this is dry, I will spray it with the seal coat before, outside I have a UV protectant spray sealer, and I put three very light coats of that over all my pieces. And then that seals in anything that's going to be reacting to water. So that's my reasoning behind why I pick Stabilo over the Inktense for this type of work. But it's personal preference. And if all you want is one that's going to be permanent, you should probably go with the Inktense. So one thing that was bothering me here, and I tried a couple different ways to fix it, was the composition. I've got this line of petals going down, and then I have a circle up at the top, and there's nothing to balance it. And I needed something to balance it. So I ended up taking this piece of paper that had a couple, had black ink painted on it in a couple splotches, and I tore some circles because I got this circle up at the top that's so obvious. I need more circles, right? So I tore a couple little circles and I put them down at the bottom, and now I have kind of well, it's just more balanced that way. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's just something that is. It turned out, I thought that was acrylic paint on those circles, but it turns out that it was Sumi ink, and that is water activated, so it ended up wiping off a little bit on the circles as I glued it down with the matte medium. And you know what? I actually liked it. There's just a little bit of white on there, and I thought it looked cool, so I didn't worry too much about it. But could I have used black paper? Sure. Is that interesting? Not as much. I think that something textured like this is a lot more interesting. I also grabbed a couple Stabilo Woodies made by the same people who make Stabilo, the smaller Stabilo pencil. They also make these big fat pencils that are water reactive as well. And I think they're made for children, but they're really fun for artists. And I put some pink, some orange, and some yellow on. Then I have a couple acrylic pens. These are the black and white fine tip acrylic markers from Arteza. They came out with a set of acrylic markers, and they have the fatter ones, the ones that are a medium tip that I had already, but I didn't have this finer tip, and it comes with 10 white and 10 black. So that's a good deal, right? Because then you don't have to keep ordering them, which is what I do with the other ones. I'm constantly ordering white and black fine tips because I go through them so fast. So this last little bit, I decided just to highlight a little bit of the texture by dry brushing with some gold gesso, and it makes it all kind of shimmery and just kind of touches the tops of the texture and kind of highlights a little bit. So that is what I did with the Daniel Smith gold gesso. And then the show is about over, but I did continue messing with it a little bit. I added some more black. One thing about the Stabilo black is that it looks really dark when you're water activating it looks super dark, right? But then as it dries, it kind of flattens out and gets a little bit more matte, and it's not as dark. So sometimes it's like a watercolor. Sometimes I want to put more than one layer of the Stabilo all on. And that was just showing the woodies there. They come in a lot of colors. That's what I think what we were talking about. And then I did one more thing. I thought it needed just a little bit more contrast after I looked at it a little bit. So I added some titanium buff or unbleached titanium acrylic paint with my fingers in just a few spots. And it gave it just a little bit more contrast. And I was done. I also did some splatters, which I think already happened with the black and the white. The acrylic paint pens, you can just flick them. You just flick them with your wrist and it gets some splatters. And who doesn't love a good splatter? I mean, splatters are awesome, right? So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please remember to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question below, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on your notification bells if you haven't already. And of course, you can pin this on Pinterest, share it on Facebook, share it with one of your friends who you think might like it. And you can also come and join the community. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.